Petal. As a blind woman, Petal paid particular attention to how she sounded, for that was how she knew herself. She had spent a good portion of her 45 rotations working on making her voice as beautiful as she possibly could. She trained it to sing, to range easily through the octaves, and to mimic the sound of others who had an interesting tone. As well, she ensured the words she bothered to speak, the interactions she chose to have with the world, were meaningful. Her parents should not have been surprised to learn that when an eloquent dark priest whispered holy truths in her ear, that she would abandon her home to follow him. He had never once offered to grant her sight, as the priests of the light had so often done. He recognized she valued the beautiful expanse of the enlightened mind far more than the curse of knowledge of appearance. When her parents and priests explained the concept of light and dark, they equated the light to what was known and the dark to what was unknown. They told her being blind meant she was trapped in eternal darkness unless an angel blessed her with knowledge of the known. But she had never considered it that way. Perhaps she was forever blanketed in darkness, but it bundled her comfortably in its folds, and she was content. As much as she valued enlightenment, knowing the visual world was not a priority. She preferred to explore the other realms of realization. If light and color were ever to infiltrate her eyes, she feared her imagination would be poisoned to fantasize the same way everyone else's did. Perhaps it was a foolhardy trepidation, but she would not risk stifling her creativity or her wit on the wager. So she existed in blissful darkness, the element of the demons she had come to revere. In honor of her religion, she played a melody that she had written. She sang alongside the tune with the words she had crafted for the exact purpose of trying to coax others into expanding their understanding of the world, to bring them into her perspective, to close their eyes and see for themselves that the world they lived in was a lie, to learn of the illusion and break from it. And what better way to spend her time than combining both of her passions in life in service to those who cared about who she was and what she wanted. Unfortunately for that night, the Sylvani town she performed in lacked sympathetic ears. The tavern-goers would listen to her songs without introspecting as she hoped. The people were just too devout to their angels and their kings, believing too firmly that the religious and political leaders would protect them. Still, she performed her song, Save Yourself, with her lap harp. When Petal concluded the melody, she waited and listened to the surrounding conversations. One of the patrons hummed the chorus, and Petal speculated the tune would stick in his head after leaving the tavern. Across the room, a woman banged her fist against the wooden bar and grumbled about Asiel ignoring her prayers. The other tavern-goers lamented over their lost kin, bartered for a hallucinogenic herb, or boasted about their family members' valor in pursuing the Rhysagli. Employees clinked glass flagons in their shuffle to clear tables. If my words sow into the hearts of only 2 tonight, that would be a success. A desert breeze caressed Petal's face while she rested her calloused fingertips. The open window was a pleasant relief in the otherwise humid tavern, with too many bodies packed into it. The wind cleared not only the sweat stench, but wine and ale vapors also. Approaching leather glided against the floor. Based on the direction of swishing air and settling fabric, the boots belonged to someone who intercepted Petal's access to the tavern's window. I hope they move soon. It'll become unbearably hot without the wind's reprieve. A chair at her table scraped across floor planks. An unfamiliar woman's voice said, "You've got my attention." "How so?" Petal asked. She would test whether the woman had the material of a demonist. "You sang about how we can't rely on others to solve our problems for us. I like that. Can I ask, how do you solve your problems when you're blind?" Though the woman's tone was sweet, there was an underlying urgency in her cadence. Is she desperate to discover a solution to her own predicaments, or is she under duress for an alternative reason? Petal said, "I don't have any problems, only joys." "How?" the woman pleaded. She shifted to cover the window's draft completely. "As I just sang, I don't follow those who can't deliver what they've promised. I only follow those who improve my life." "Who is that?" Petal leaned in against her harp. I can show you, if you'd like. The woman hadn't responded, but Petal assumed she debated the choice. After a moment, she said, All right, but we have to be careful leaving. What could she be so anxious about? Did someone pursue her here? Perhaps she's an escaped slave, running from her owners. If so, she's a perfect candidate to follow Dentrima. I'll follow your lead out of the tavern, but we need to find an isolated area in the desert sands. I'll set my harp in my room and then leave with you. From the back of the lap harp, Petal unhinged a lever, and part of its backing flipped down. She connected the bottom of the wooden base to the floor and used it as both a guide and a means to support the weight of the instrument. As Petal stood, the woman repositioned herself again to cover the window's opening. Petal thought little of the bizarre behavior as she navigated between boisterous voices and creaking furniture. To avoid silent, stagnant obstacles that her harp's cane menaced, she sensed the space before her with the backside of her hand and a light touch of her foot. Petal returned her instrument to her room and collected a more typical walking stick, but the woman had followed her, again positioning herself between Petal and the window. Why does she keep doing that? Is there something you need? Petal asked. If this is some ploy to rob me in seclusion, this woman will regret targeting me. I'm just nervous about who might be watching. Can we slip out a back door? Who is after her that she acts with such caution? I assume there is one, but I don't know for certain. If there is, then certainly. Petal returned to the bar and located the tavern manager by his boisterous voice. I'll return momentarily. I wouldn't want him to think I'm cheating him of his room and board. Is there an alternative exit my friend and I can leave through? He guided them through the smell of warm garlic and past an odor of drying onions, presumably the kitchens and a storeroom. Thank you, Petal said, before they exited into the cool night air along an empty road. Her shallow exhales tickled the back of Petal's neck. What are you hiding from? Petal asked. I'm trying to avoid being spotted. Who do you fear? Petal stopped on the roadside for emphasis. We have to keep moving. The woman reached an arm around Petal's back to prompt her forward. Petal jerked away instinctively, startled by the abrupt touch. After registering the pending threat, Petal willingly allowed her to lead. Who? The woman dropped her guiding touch. Petal didn't have to wait long before she received an answer. Caracal, the woman said, with too much emotion caught in her voice. Caracal must be who she was avoiding. Is she a past lover? Ancilla, what are you doing? Fury radiated from every distinct syllable Caracal spoke. Her breaths came heavy, but Caracal maintained her distance. Ancilla, huh? They have a similar class of name. Perhaps they're sisters or cousins, if not married. It's good to finally have a name for this mysterious woman. Though I'm intrigued by this Caracal, too. I listened to what Petal had to say, and I want to learn more. Ancilla squeezed in as many words as possible before she gave Caracal a chance to respond. She's going to show me something. Is Caracal familiar with who I am? I've never met a Caracal before. Perhaps my reputation has spread farther than I anticipated. What are you talking about? What could she be showing you that's so important right now? The last few of Caracal's words sounded as if she would have hissed them had they the proper letters for it. What is the relationship between them? I think she can help us find freedom. Freedom from what? They don't have slave numbers for names, as I had originally assumed. Caracal silenced, and her breath caught. Why don't you join us? We're going into the desert. What's in the desert that could free us? Petal felt it was time to join the conversation. I'll show you too, if you'd like. Fine, Caracal agreed. Far from the town in the wan desert, Petal assumed they would not be seen. Dentrima, please join me. Petal sent the silent prayer out, knowing the archdemon could hear it wherever he was, either in their mortal plane or the next. Give me an entrance. Dentrima's voice answered her in her head. Petal threw out her hands and cursed the empty patch of sand before them to create a sinking crater. Caracal gasped, and Ancilla shrieked. From the corrosive depression, Dentrima's presence ascended. His talons scattered sand as he clawed his way up. Who do we have here? I'm Ancilla. Ancilla paced toward Dentrima, shuffling her skirts with her step. Is it within your power to free my friend and me from our oppressors? Friend, that would have been my last guess. Traditionally, my words free those shackled with chains, not social constraints. We can't separate from the guild then? Ursula asked. The guild? The Vahantry? I didn't say that. If you flip over your meal tray and your oppressor removes it, then I can walk you to safety. Dantrima's presence faded, but Petal knew the crater remained. Skin grasped skin. Ursula. Caracal dragged her friend away from the archdemon. Stop it! This is our chance! You might hate priests of the light, but when has a priest of the dark wronged you? Don't you understand? This can be our way back to a normal life. Caracal hesitated. Petal approached Caracal. Angelism and demonism are similar in theology, but vastly different in practice. We diverged from our sister religion long ago. I'm grateful to Dantrima and all the other demons for their sacrifice of suffering. Though we take their actions for granted, they actively help us by not releasing their curses onto humanity. They do not curse the ground we sow when they easily could out of spite or to ease their misery. But the angels are selfish. Rarely do they deliver blessings. They prefer to bottle their joys rather than share them with the world. They only care about themselves and their most devout worshippers. Everyone else is ignored. But Dantrima and the other archdemons help everyone. And if you want it, he'll help you. You just have to ask. Petal couldn't tell what Caracal thought while she stood mute. Please, Caracal, let's try it. Ursula rubbed her hands back and forth. Caracal clicked her teeth together in deliberation. She sighed. We'll need a plan of when to leave and where we're going.